Welcome to Trust Your Glitter podcast. This is Christy, and I'm here to talk about the astrology of March the 4th through the 10th, 2024. We are in a new ass month of March, and I don't know how I'm going to approach this episode. We're just going to go in like we're getting into a boat and going out to sea, because that's kind of what I feel when I look at the aspects and transits of the week. We don't have a lot of transits this week, you guys. We just have Mercury entering the sign of Aries on the 9th of March. And then on the 10th of March, we have a new moon in Pisces. So it's really about the aspects and the lunar cycles this week that are going to guide us through. And I think it's very symbolic because we are in a water season of Pisces, and this is the most Pisces week we have. We have had a mixture. Pisces season has been a mixture of energies this year, and I feel like if we're going to look at the true blue waters of Pisces, we're going to look at this week and say this is the most emotional week of Pisces season as we prepare for a pretty intense, enlivening Aries season, which is going to bring us some big shifts societally. So I want to acknowledge this because if you are a water sign, if you are a Pisces listening, you might be absorbing a lot of things for a lot of people this year. And it could feel like you're being left in a corner, which is kind of the plight of Pisces in general, because you are legit one of the most empathetic and powerful zodiac signs. You know, you're here to show us love. That's what Pisces is here to do. And it just feels like there's a competition for fear and love going on in society. And what I would say to those who are extremely sensitive listening to this podcast, really know that this week is about self-care. And self-care is not just like a bubble bath. Self-care is saying no. Self-care is maybe having to turn down people this week, or really spend time on things that are more nourishing and enriching for you as the world keeps on going through these very big shifts and the spiritual war that we're in. So I want to acknowledge that, because the moon is going to be in her waning phase, so she's heading towards the new moon this week. And when the lunar cycles start to get closer and closer to the new moon, we're going to feel this draw and this pull to really back away from our obligations. So the end of the week is a spiritual reset. It's also a need to really go inward. It is about meditation, however you meditate. It could be that you need to spend time listening to music by yourself, alone in a quiet space, go for a walk, go and really contemplate, because the bigger life questions are being asked of us this week, whether we like it or not. And on the 4th, we have Mercury, the mind, communications, still in the sign of Pisces, sextile to Uranus in the sign of Taurus. So there is kind of like these fundamental revolutionary questions being asked in society, like, what are we? Who are we? Why are we? You know, what is the purpose here? And we're heading towards a new moon, so it's that feeling of needing to change, but kind of the restlessness in place. So on the 4th, you might start to get these like big, shifty, like energies where, Mars is sextile to the North Node in Aries and trine the South Node in Libra. The same with, we have the Sun in Pisces, semi-sextile to the North Node on the 5th of March. So anytime I see like, whether it's friction energy with like a semi-sextile or a sextile where it's like friendly energy, this can still bring that feeling of needing to make a difference, needing to make a change. And on the 6th, we have the sun in Pisces semi-square to Pluto. So there's this, again, the depths of the crevasses in the deep sea are being shaken and awakened. And if that is the deep sea of our mind, you might have some memories come up this week. Some deep dreams come up this week. I've had wild dreams this weekend. I had to write them down, look at the symbolism. I had a dream this weekend about this like neon orange octopus that was being washed to shore, and I thought it was getting beached, and I feel like I was on the shores of a place I really love called Malibu, California. For those listening internationally, it's like everything you want to see in a movie, but then you get to Malibu, California, and you're like, this isn't really what the movies are like, but the beach is beautiful, and I used to go and meditate there. And I had this dream that these big waves were like subsiding at the shoreline, and this like burnt orange, neon orange octopus about the size of a human was being like beached. And I was like, oh my God, like what's going on? And there was people surfing and all this stuff, and I was watching this octopus in the dream, like very detailed, like I could see, the tentacles, the tendrils like moving through the waves. And all of a sudden it moved in the dream and animated itself and became a human. And I've been like deciphering that dream, what it really means. But we might get these kinds of dreams that are really symbolic to us and what these symbols actually mean for ourselves. Mercury in Pisces is this kind of stuff. It's these depictions of symbols in our minds, and we have to understand what that really means for us. And so with, also on the 6th, Mars is sextile to Chiron in Aries. We're getting these precursors. We're getting these indications of what these next few weeks are going to be building up into themselves. Chiron, the wounded healer, Mars being that soldier, that warrior within ourselves. And it is this greater, like, who are we as a crew here? Why are we spinning on this rock? What in the hell are we doing? So if you find yourself asking bigger questions, even on the 6th of March, we've got Mercury, the mind, in Pisces semi-sextile to Venus in Aquarius. And that means they're right side by side. They're 30 degrees apart. Mercury's at 24 degrees Pisces. Venus is at 24 degrees Aquarius. They're side by side neighbors. And Venus in Aquarius for us all is asking us about, our heart strength. And in a lot of ways, it's like utilizing creativity to portray what is like art therapy, what's going on a deeper level. The next day, the sun in Pisces is semi-sextile to Chiron in Aries. So there's this interplay with Mars, the sun, Chiron this week that is still leading us up to what this upcoming eclipse in Aries is. I'm going to talk about this every week until we get up to April, because it's really giving us an indication societally of what's going on. There are people who are being awakened on levels that they haven't been before. There's communities aligning. There's a different view of society that's evolving. There's people who are getting with a program. There are people who are breaking free of other programming. So it's really important to see that this week has a lot of symbolism and feelings to it. Sometimes your words might just be pictures, memories, or even like taking you back to a place that maybe you thought was reality and realizing that it wasn't. And then on International Women's Day on March 8th, we have a beautiful alignment here between Mercury, the mind, our voice, our communications, conjunct Neptune and Pisces. So this is as Pisces of Pisces season day as it goes, and I think it's interesting. It's on International Women's Day, March 8th. I love it. Very symbolic, very beautiful, very harmonious. a gift. Mercury in Pisces with Neptune sitting there in faith. The highest form of this is absolute faith, absolute surrender to the divine purpose. This is that feeling of bliss and meditation that you get where you're like, I can just surrender my fears away, give it back to the ocean, and say the ocean is going to bring this back to me. I trust the waves. Trust the waves, man. Trust the waves on March 8th. Oh my God. Same day we have Mercury semi-square to Jupiter in Taurus. So Pisces home is Neptune and Jupiter. Giving, love, connection, that feeling of embracing humanitarianism, altruism. This is a theme that's been floating through the consciousness, the currents of the consciousness. Row, row, row your boat gently down the stream. That kind of vibe. So pay attention to your dreams this week, because as we're going into this March 7th, 8th, 9th, and into the 10th, we're going to feel the moon asking us to release our control. It's hard for those who need to be in control at all times. We can't control everything. All we can do is love. It is so easy for me to say, I'm a human on this planet just figuring this shit out. I had a friend of mine who's an astrologer. She posted something about, and it got me thinking about how, with all these gurus out there, talking about war, how do we heal? Basically, like, how do we heal from this? Because there's so many gurus, quote unquote, and if they're talking about this destruction of society, like, what does that really mean? And there is a love and light factor to this. But there's also a lot going on in the world. And during Pisces season, we feel it even more. So yes, like the 8th gives us hope. The 8th gives us like this light of hope that good things are here for humanity, for all of us to be connected at once, no matter where we are in the world. So circle the 8th as a day of love, of hope, of consciousness, of kindness, of truth. It's a beautiful day. And then on the 9th, we have Venus at 27 degrees of Aquarius, semi-sextile to Neptune and Pisces. So here's like, we're taking the story forward. Venus is saying, we're all one, we're all love. I don't know if there's an action to be taken on this day, but it feels like there might be actions taken on the 9th. It can feel like a struggle because the energy is pulling us to rest. So there can be a restlessness here of like, hey, my body and my mind are not in the same spot. Like, I'm here, but I'm not here. Same day, we have Mars square Uranus, again, that restlessness. Now, earlier, as I record this, on the 3rd, Venus is square to Uranus, so it's kind of that feeling of like running in place. But the moon is beckoning us. She is saying, hey, I get it, but we have to stay in the pocket here. We have to stay in the energy of going into the surf, going into the wave, being like the octopus that it's riding the wave and will eventually get animated again. So this same day, the 9th, the sun is sextile to Uranus. So we have this interplay of fire energy, because the sun is still this solar energy, and the sun is pretty damn active right now. With Uranus, the great revolutionary planet. The 9th is a day to circle just to see what's going on in the news, current events. The news is moving, the world events are moving, and they are pulling us into this place of feeling like there's no hope. So allow faith to bring us through. And I'm speaking on this from trial and error, because that anger energy is going to be building. The same day, the 9th, Mercury enters the sign of Aries. It's important to know that Mercury in Aries is part of this pattern. Mercury does rule our technology, so does Uranus. So I want to see also what happens with technology over the next month, past into April. So I'm looking at this as March, April processing. And we're in preparation mode. So we're getting these little hints. AT&T went out a couple weeks ago, or cell phone service went out for some people. Wi-Fi. Pharmacies, things like that. That's Mercury. Connections, communications. We want to see what happens on the 9th when it comes to communications. Just a gander, just to see. Because Mercury in the sign of Aries is now answering to the planet Mars. So on that same day, Mars is square Uranus. Mars is also semi-sextile to the Sun in Pisces. However, Mars is in Aquarius, and Aquarius, by definition, rules the interwebs, mass communications. We also have daylight savings time leading us into the 10th. So the 10th, we have Mercury sextile to Pluto. Mercury at 1 degree Aries, sextile to Pluto at 1 degree Aquarius. There's a harmony. There's also a lesson. So I do think, and let me have my moon chart right here. I do think with the new moon, we're going to look at the value of humanity versus the value of maybe mass media. And I know that we have the new moon at the top of the week, so look at this week as an extreme version of a balsamic moon. I'm not saying that the moon is balsamic throughout the whole week. That is when the moon is 45 degrees away from the new moon, and it's pulling us in. So if you view this as going into the surf, going into, I don't want to call it an undertow, because you're not fully getting pulled under the water. Mars is not going to let you do that. You're fighting the current. And you're being asked to surrender to the current. So I think that it's interesting that we're all being asked to take this space to surrender at many, through many points of this week. And our new moon is at 5 a.m. Eastern Standard Time on the 10th. So that's next Sunday at 20 degrees Pisces. Very close to Neptune, not quite a full conjunction. Neptune's at 27 degrees Pisces. But we are being asked our worth and value here. We're being asked the community worth and value. How do you value your neighbor? How do you value the people in your life? How do you value your friendships? How do you value yourself? How have you underplayed yourself? And with Pluto in Aquarius and Mercury in Aries, creating a connection through this new moon, it is a time to organize your goals based on something that's enlightened you over the last few weeks. So the question being posed is, now that you've gotten this information, and you're still going to receive far more information on the way, what is evolving in what really lights up your soul? Because the old way of pleasing other people is it's done. It's really about your heart. It's really about where you serve versus like I feel like a lot of people that are going through like a wake up call right now have realized they've been living a lie for so long. And this has been a slow roll since like 2020 when we had these great conjunctions. We're being asked what really matters, and we're being shown this on a mass scale. There's a reason why the CEO of Kellogg's is getting canceled right now. And a lot of people are getting behind the fact that there's something going on with our food supply. And we really have to understand that this affects all of us. It's nothing new. It's just blatant. It's blatant stuff that we're seeing now. And it's shaking us from the inside out. It's a deep rumbling from within the core of the planet. So I hope that you have a beautiful week. I'll be on TikTok this week doing a little bit more. But I wanted to get out at least the energies that bring us through the week. We're going to be heading into Mercury's shadow very soon, but it's not quite yet. So just know as Mercury enters Aries, it gives us a little idea again of the messages of the upcoming total solar eclipse in the sign of Aries. And so I hope you have a beautiful week ahead. Really take care of yourself and lots of love.